I don't buy into this mindset of we're supposed to be happy all the time. We're supposed to be in this Zen moment every time, and we should be motivated all the time. We're human beings. We're driven by hormones. But the thing is, as long as you stay the course, it's going to get better. That's the difference between winners and losers, right? Losers have a bad day, bad moment. They're like, I'm done. This was it. This is not for me. I don't want to see this ever again. I'm going to go back to what I was doing, which I thought was not working, but I'm going to go back to something that's not working because the one thing that will save me didn't work for one day. That's so illogical, but most people do that.
You, what was it like for you accepting that you maybe were hitting failure on a couple different topics? Maybe not on everything, but what was it like creeping up to that feeling like, oh man, I really have to sit with this now?
Yeah, well, I mean, you internally know it, right? It's like a drug addict or someone addicted to alcohol. You don't want to acknowledge you're in denial, but you see it and people close to you see it. You're walking on thin ice and it can break any time and you're having difficulty. You just tell people, I'm okay. I'm doing fine. It's not an addiction. I can just quit anytime I want. And you know that that's not true, right? This is very similar to that thing. Like, you know that it's not going well, but I guess I have this entrepreneurial drive, which shows itself sometimes as like total optimism that things will be fine at some point. What this guy helped me is that they will only be great at some point if you make it great. With the way you're going right now, it will not be. The first time we had this conversation on the phone, after the phone call, I just wanted to end my relationship with him. It was like major animosity against him. Like, you don't understand. You don't have, because you don't have a vision. I was ready to personally attack his background because this guy has been a millionaire for so many years. He was like 50 years old, something like that. So I was at that point at least 30 years younger than him. But I'm also doubting, like a kid growing up, they challenge their parents. So you don't know anything. I know better than you. But as you get older, you're like, oh yeah, they knew a lot of that I didn't know. This was one of those moments that I went from being super positive to being super depressed, to hating on the guy, to deciding, you know what, I'm accepting that I failed at this and I need to do something about it. So again, that was like when someone asked me, what's your biggest failure? Like, it's a legit failure. Like you totally failed and someone pinned you down and you had to tap out. That was that experience. But it taught me a valuable lesson that I talk about all the time. And you mentioned when you and I were talking, you like how our company is like very simple. Like we try to keep it simple. That comes from that. Like nothing good comes out of complexity, honestly.
No. Yeah, and even just the way that we're able to communicate as team members. Maybe we didn't have the best shining moment on the phone there. We don't have to explain it to each other, but just understanding, hey, I had a rough time on the phone.
Yeah.
How's your day going? Just to reach out that lending hand saying, hey, I acknowledge it wasn't the best maybe point of contact, but let's make this a good one.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Just making sure that every interaction is better than the last. It works for us as a group.
It does. Acknowledging it helps, right? It's one thing to say that everything is going well when you know that it's not. It's better to say that this was not that good, but I know that, so I can do better, right? So what you focus on grows. I was listening to an athlete. This, person is like Olympian level. And one day she's having really horrible day. Like she's practicing, she's not doing well at all. No matter what she does, it's just a bad day. She's like, oh my God, I'm about to join like a major competition. I suck. Her coach said, well, we'll just call this the 1/3 day. She's like, one what? 1/3 day. All right. She's like, what does that even mean? When you're creating a business or when you're competing at that level, right? Your success has 3 parts. Each one is 1/3, right? So one is certain days you feel amazing. You feel invincible. The other days you feel okay, but you feel like you're not living up to or working up to your potential. Some days they're just bad. And you know that. Sometimes it takes a ton more effort to change those days to a better day than kind of giving up and going home and calling it a bad day. That's a part of the process. So at least you let body process that because certain battles you're not supposed to be fighting, right? So when you're in that game and you know that that's your 1/3, it's not happening today, it's okay to say to yourself, well, I suck today, but it is okay. It'll be a better day tomorrow. That's what matters, right? So we're trying to instill that thought within our team and within our community. Every day, I don't buy into this mindset of we're supposed to be happy all the time. We're supposed to be in this Zen moment every time, and we should be motivated all the time. We're human beings. We're driven by hormones. Your hormones change based on the air that you breathe in, the food you eat, travel, sleep, whatever you have going on in your life, right? So you can't have this constant. It's too much to ask from yourself. It's okay to feel pretty beaten down and bad sometimes. It's all right. Just know that that is what's happening. It's not a pattern. It's just happening today, and you get back up tomorrow. You learn from that. You have one of those other 1/3, either a great one or a decent one, and have room for improvement. I resonate with that approach, what she said. I'm like, yeah, sometimes I feel that way. I feel like I was not productive at all that day, right? But the other days I'm like, oh my God, I feel like a champion, totally invincible. So there's got to be a balance. You're not being bipolar. That's just how life is. And she became a champion.
Wow.
How that happened, you stay with it. You never fail unless you quit. You might have a bad day. You might have a bad week. People have freaking bad year. They lose everyone that they love in just 1 year. I call it a pretty bad year. No matter how you spin it, it's pretty bad, right? But the thing is, as long as you stay the course, it's going to get better. That's the difference between winners and losers, right? Losers have a bad day, bad moment. They're like, I'm done. This was it. This is not for me. I don't want to see this ever again. I'm going to go back to what I was doing, which I thought was not working, but I'm going to go back to something that's not working because the one thing that will save me didn't work for 1 day. That's so illogical, but most people do that. So I guess the lesson is that, yeah, you all have your own failure stories, and you might be going through that process right now. It's just thinking to yourself and taking inventory of your thoughts and what's happening, kind of owning the mistakes that you make and wake up next day and fix it. It can change the game for sure.
Absolutely. And touching on part of what you mentioned that you kind of have your own drive to where your success is. And when you have so many things going on, you can only make so many things so successful. Mm-hmm. So when you're putting all of your energy, say, into a full-time job, and then with your full-time job, you're trying to get 2 different businesses going, mm-hmm. the only thing you become good at over time is spending your energy and your time and your resources. So the more selective you are about what you're putting your energy, your time, your resources into, the more you harbor that in the right direction, the more the right things in the right directions grow.
Yes, similar to what happened to you, right? We're just talking about it, right? You were going through that phase, you're in the management position, but you know that you're burning out. The environment is not really the best environment for you to flourish and grow. And there was probably very little likelihood that you and I would ever meet.
Absolutely. And it's actually one of those things when I conversate with people and I tell them where I came from to where I am now, mm-hmm. it's a jaw dropper because they hear, oh, someone's in a medical field. That's an amazing position. You're so young, the livelihood, you have everything going for you. Anyone would drop a dime to be in that seat, in that position at that age. And it came down to one thing. Was I really happy? Mm-hmm. I was more than happy to help the people that I was helping, but internally, was I happy with what was being facilitated in my life by me? And when I take a look at it through that lens, what am I doing for myself when my badge comes off? I realized I was the problem, and that everything I want for myself to take myself to that next realm of serene peace and happiness, I needed to do it for myself.
Yeah. And you owe it to yourself, because I always say you're the most important person in your life. You got to take care of yourself.
100%.
Because of the problems that you have, and it's another thing we talked about, whether you have business-related problems or money-related problems or relationship-related problems, they're not problems separate from you. People don't have business problems. They have personal problems that reflect on business. People don't have relationship problems. They have personal problems that they carry over to their relationships, and the other party does the same thing. Then it becomes a full-on battle to see who's going to win, and usually during battles, there's no winner. Both sides bleed a lot. But that's just what happens. That's why if you focus on yourself, you do a lot better in all areas of your life. And the question is, well, how do I focus on myself? It is so important that even if you're like super busy with everything going on, it is important that you schedule an appointment with yourself. It might sound crazy, but sometimes we talk to ourselves the least amount, although we're the most important person. We're in our heads all the time, right? But we don't have a conversation with ourselves to find out what it is that we're going through right now. And it's okay to ask that question. Hey, Becca, how are you feeling right now? And I think Tony Robbins talks about it in a great deal. It's called the state management. You need to define what state you're in right now. And then that's simply by recognizing, asking that question. What is my current state? Am I angry? Am I motivated? Am I exhausted? Do I feel depressed? Am I hungry? Did I feed myself? Did I drink enough fluids today? What's going through my mind right now? What am I doing? How am I feeling? And then once you define the current state you're in right now, changing that is a lot easier. For example, if you're feeling demotivated, you woke up and you start a business landing blueprint, you're going, oh man, if I do this, this will work. But I don't even know the first thing that I would do right now. So if you ask yourself the question of how are you feeling right now, Becca? Like you're that person, right? Well, I'm feeling demotivated. Okay. So then what you just told yourself, I don't know what to do right now, is not the truth. If you wanted to, you would figure out what to do. You're just not feeling motivated. That's your current state. If you were motivated, you would go through, you would just ask for help and call support and go through the blueprint. You would do all kinds of things to figure it out. You're just not feeling motivated. Why is that? So now we took the question from, I don't know what to do, to, well, I'm not feeling great. What's causing that, right? Because sometimes you can fix the cause. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you're stuck with the problem, right? But at least at that moment, you can decide whether you want to change your state or not. You can tell yourself, I'm kind of feeling miserable for myself, but I know why that is so. But right now I'm deciding that I got to do this because of my why, whatever my why is. Because I want to give a better educational experience to my kids. I want to live in a better neighborhood. I want a better car. I want to be able to pay off my bills and save some money. I want to be able to, add more to my retirement. So once you bring yourself back to what your why is, you'll notice within literally minutes that your motivation changes. Now all of a sudden you're like, well, I know what to do. Maybe I'll join the weekly call. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. So that state management is one of the most important things when you're going through life. Building that habit of checking with yourself, like you do with your spouse and your partner, your boyfriend. Like, how are you doing? Are you doing okay? We forget to do that with ourselves. Like in this very moment, not all the past experience that I had, what I messed up in the past and my failures and the baggage, why am I fat? Why am I skinny? Not all that. Like right now, what is happening? What am I feeling? And then once you identify, give that a name, it's a lot easier to change than starting your day and telling, hey, Becca, I don't know about this. I think I'm not cut out for this. It's such a bloated statement. Like, what are you even talking about? It can mean so many things. Then we're trying to ask for help, but not many people can help us. That's why, like, when you go through psychotherapy, one of the first questions the psychiatrist asks, how are you feeling, Becca? Tell me about your feelings. They don't talk about, tell me about your past 10 years and all past accomplishments or failures, right? It starts from that point and you get kind of dig deeper and deeper and deeper into it.
Absolutely. And to piggyback off of that is with feelings come association. So how you associate your feelings. So some people are on different levels of realness with themselves than others. Some people can sit there and say, I'm feeling really bad that I haven't been able to make any deals work, or I haven't been able to make anything funded yet. And it's one of those things, they're feeling sorry about themselves, but how do they apply it? To one person, that might be the fuel that starts their fire and that completely takes everything off. But to someone else, that might be completely devastating that they got their first opportunity and that opportunity didn't go where they anticipated it to go.
And that changed their feeling. I guess we're just creatures walking around with a ton of feelings. And that defines what our state is. You're definitely right on because, you might acknowledge that you're demotivated, but what kind of feeling you're associating to that? Like some people might feel like I'm a total defeat.
Failure,
like I'm a loser. I'm not going to do anything. Other person can say, well, today sucks.
Just watch me,
Yeah, but this is not me. I'll fix it. And you're definitely right. We decide what feelings we associate things to, right? That's so important. That's a great reminder for sure.
And I think it holds a testament to you put the power to it. So say if you want to hold those feelings and you want that to spark your fire every time, keep reminding yourself, these are the times that I need to focus and zone in, and this is go time. Say, for example, a football player. They enter the stadium, they hear the crowd roaring, they know it's time to suit up, game time. It's kind of like in the alternative lending business, when you see nothing happening, you're not getting any leads, you're not seeing any funding happen, no lenders, nothing, no good stuff is coming, no real opportunity, guess what? It's your game time. It's time for you to suit up and start networking out.
And also go into our community, right? You're going to see a bunch of people making things happen. Because it's normal to feel down, but we check out our community. It's just colorful with so many people and so many things happening. People are asking questions about their deals. You're spot on. No matter what you're doing in life, that's just super important. Yeah.
And it's quite amazing to see the different people that are the students in BLB at different points. They kind of pop up in different places, areas, and ways. I've noticed that even just beginning out, you start to see people in calls, they're asking these questions, and then their questions start to snowball into these other questions.
Yeah.
And it's kind of powerful because it's like you're seeing all these changes, and without really getting to know somebody, you're seeing these changes happen in these meetings.
It's happening real time. Yeah, it's a funny story. I was just in Miami with about 15 of our heavy hitter BLB members on one product, right? So the tax credit. So I met this guy, his name is Chris. He joined BLB after talking to me on the phone. So back then when we first launched BLB, I was the one handling the calls. So we didn't have a team of consultants who handled the calls. So I was the one who enrolled this gentleman into the program, right? And then I met him again, like 2.5, 3 years later. He is from United States. He moved to Mexico City just to experience the expat life. And he travels. Like if you go to his Instagram, this guy travels quite a bit. When I talk to him, I'm like, what motivates you to travel that much? He's like, because I'm in this business. I can do whatever I want. I can be in anywhere and still fund deals and still grow the business. This was like the best thing ever happened to me. And then I did not even know that that was happening to him. Like I talked to him literally maybe 3 years ago, right? But this is happening. Somebody's life is shaping up to bring him to that moment that our paths crossed again. And I see him, the person I talked to 3 years ago was a totally different person than the person that I just met.
Wow.
Like, you know, he built himself a life and he started journaling that experience. He has a YouTube channel sharing his experience on Instagram and all over the place. I'm like, wow, everyone is presented the same opportunity when you think about it, right? So some people take it and do something with it that has massive magnitude. They make the most of it. Others do something else. Others do nothing.
Right.
So then it comes down to the decision of what you're doing.